Do you want to say that your car is truly built and not bought? Well, then building a kit car might just be for you. Kit cars come in many different shapes and sizes from many different price ranges, all the way from $10,000 up to $100,000. The question is, why would someone spend so much money to build a car that takes so much time and energy? Today we're going to dive into that very question. We're going to talk about a few different kit cars and why you should or should not build one. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gray and this is 11 Like Gray, where we like to do everything cars. Recently we've been building a DF Goblin kit car here on the channel, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit and some other kit cars that you might want to start building yourself. So today I wanted to talk about a few different options of kit cars that you could build and why I actually chose to build a kit car. People are wanting lightweight, easy to drive, easy to use, and easy to maintain vehicles. Not to mention, they want to be able to get into one at a cheap price while maintaining some very high performance numbers. This has created a big boom in the kit car industry, and even more so in the past couple of years as everybody's been pushing for electric cars. As prices of even used vehicles are rising so high, people are realizing that they could just build their own car and have better performance out of it from a kit rather than buying a used Miata, S2000, or even a Mustang or some other car on Facebook Marketplace. And then after that, you have to fight a bunch of issues maintaining, rebuilding, modifying that car for it to be fast. And even then, it'll probably be outclassed by some of these kit cars. There are ones like the DF Goblin and the Exocet that are cage cars that use components from another car. The DF Goblin uses components from a Chevrolet Cobalt to build it, and then the Exocet uses components from a Mazda Miata to build it. So basically, you're dramatically decreasing the weight while enhancing the chassis rigidity and suspension components. While yes, you're running in those lower horsepower ranges from a Chevy Cobalt or a Mazda Miata, you're greatly reducing the weight from 3,000, 4,000 pounds down to 1,500 pounds, basically increasing your power to weight ratio. For example, if you build a DF Goblin like I did and you use a Chevy Cobalt SS with a supercharged engine for your donor, then you're putting out a very similar power to weight ratio as a Ferrari 488. So you're getting supercar speeds for around $15,000 to $20,000, which is pretty impressive when you think about it. Now, yes, you're not getting the luxury of the Ferrari, you're not getting that crisp twin turbo V8 sound, and you're not getting the name badge of a Ferrari, but you get a car that you get to say that you actually built yourself. And you still have the same performance as that Ferrari, if not even better. The Exocet is a very similar situation. Both of these cars are tube chassis cars though. They're almost go-karts for the road. They're almost not really an actual vehicle that you could call a car. In fact, they barely pass road legal standards in some states. However, there are other kit cars that kind of make up for that issue. Some of these examples include Factory 5 Racing, race car replicas, Rhino Racing, and the Ultima kit cars. Now, most of these are kit cars, but they're actually more replicas. Now, the Ultima and the Rhino Racing, they are purpose-built cars that are not a replica of anything. They are just their own vehicle. However, the race car replicas and the Factory 5 typically are replicas of existing cars. For example, if you go on the Factory 5 website right now, you can get a Shelby Cobra kit that is based on the original Shelby Cobra for about $20,000. Now that is minus the engine and transmission and the differential, but you get the frame, the body, and everything else you need to build that car. Race car replicas is a very similar situation. You can hop on race car replicas and you can build a Porsche 917 replica and some other vehicles as well. If you want to spend a little bit more money, you can even buy a mostly complete kit car such as a Superformance, which they have replicas of Shelby Cobras as well, and the infamous Ford GT40. But let's say if you want something even more unique than those cars, then you would look at something like the Ultima or the Rhino Racing. Now the Ultima has been around for a while, and this is one of the higher end, higher priced kit cars. These things can be built for around $80,000 to $100,000, which at that point you could be buying some seriously nice pre-built cars from a trusted manufacturer. Now the Rhino Racing probably comes in just a little lower than that. They are a very new company that have not really sold any units yet, but their prototype car has an Audi R8 engine in it, which means it's going to be putting out some serious power. So how do you narrow down what kit car you want to build, and how feasible is it to actually build these cars yourself? All of these companies say that you can build your own car in your garage. Is that really true? Well, a lot of that depends on what tools you have, how much space you have, and how technically skilled you are. And then, probably most importantly, what kit you buy. Now for me, I wouldn't say I'm a professional mechanic, car builder, or anything in between. I make YouTube videos, but I was still able to figure out how to build a DF Goblin. Now yes, I did run into some challenges here and there, but with any project, even if you buy a project car, you're gonna hit some serious challenges. In fact, in my opinion, I've built this Datsun behind me as well as the DF Goblin, and I'd say the DF Goblin is actually easier to build than the Datsun because I'm working with mainly new parts, whereas the Datsun, I'm working with 40, 50-year-old parts, which honestly hasn't held up very well over time. Now yes, with the Goblin, I did have to use donor parts from a Chevy Cobalt, but yes, they gave us some issues, but overall, since it's still a relatively new car, they were pretty easy to fix, and since they're so common, there's so much support out there to fix these cars. Along with that, DF Kit Car has a great support forum and system to building these cars. So it wasn't very hard to troubleshoot and fix some of the issues that we ran into. A lot of it was just waiting on parts to come in to replace broken parts, or they were new parts from DF that I ordered later on because I didn't want to write a massive $15,000 check up front for a kit car. That is one of the other benefits about building these cars, is it's an ongoing project and you don't need to buy everything at once. You can kind of buy some pieces here, buy some pieces there, and slowly put it together at your own pace. Now, other kit cars might not be as easy to build as the DF Goblin. Factory 5 has sold a lot of units, so I'm assuming that there is a lot of support out there for them, but I haven't personally built one. However, some of the more expensive units, such as an Ultima RS or the Rhino Racing or the Superformance, they might be a little more difficult just because there haven't been as many sold, so there might not be as much support out there. You might be pioneering into a new land when building your car. You might be discovering new issues that no one else has been able to solve yet, so it's up to you to solve them. Pair that with the higher price tags and the bodywork that you probably will be doing yourself on those cars. These will be way harder to build than a DF Goblin or an Exocet or some of the cage cars that are a little cheaper and they're based on a more readily available vehicle. A lot of it's going to come down to price and your personal willpower to get the project done. With any project, whether it's a project car or a kit car, the main hindrance is going to be your own head. When you encounter an issue, how do you handle it? Are you going to be able to power through and overcome that issue, or are you going to say, I'll deal with it another day, step back, and then never get back to it? That's gonna determine if you actually can build a kit car. Sure, having a lot of space is really nice, having a lot of money to finish the project, and having all the tools that you might need to fix any sort of problem you might run into. However, I've seen people build these in very small spaces with very minimal tools and with very little experience building cars. So the main thing that you really need to worry about when building any sort of car is whether you have the willpower to finish the project through. When the going gets tough, are you going to give in or keep going to finish the project? That's going to determine whether you're a good fit to build a kit car. Now, it really helps to have someone there to help you build it, because then you kind of egg each other on whenever the going gets tough. I had my buddy Logan help me build my DF Goblin, and whenever I got burnt out, he kind of pushed me just a little bit so that we could finish the car. And then whenever he got a little burnt out, I was able to push him past that point, and we were able to fix each other's problems that we were running into while building the car. So I would highly recommend not really building it yourself, but building it with someone, because one, it makes the experience way more enjoyable to do it with a friend or family member, and it is way easier, mentally at least, to have some of that load taken off your shoulders. So I'd say any of these kit cars would be a great father-son project, whether you're building a Shelby Cobra, a Daytona from Factory 5, a GT40 from Superformance, an Ultima RS, a DF Goblin, any of these cars that we've talked about, and be really a great project to do with either a friend, a group of friends, or a father-son or father-daughter project in which you want to kind of bring the next generation into cars. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about kit cars, is being able to do it with other people, and especially inspiring the next generation with these cars that we build. Yes, building a kit car is not easy, it is not fun sometimes, and you encounter every single problem that you could possibly hit, and everything that could go wrong does go wrong. But at the same time, when you finally start that car for the very first time, and then you actually get to drive it shortly after that, it is an unmatched feeling, and it's something that you remember for the rest of your life. And no one can take away the fact that you built your own car. So is building a kit car worth it? That is up to you. I think it personally is. Are you the right person to do it? You have to think about that yourself. And if you think you're up to the challenge, there are plenty of options to choose from. Personally, having built a DF Goblin, I would highly recommend that if you haven't had a lot of experience building cars, I would recommend doing a DF Goblin. I'll make a whole nother video about why I think the DF Goblin is a great kit car to start with. I did a bunch of research into all these companies before I bought my own kit car. And the DF Goblin, in my opinion, was the easiest to start with, and it is one of the more fun vehicles to build as well. Having the open air feeling and then that amazing sound, and it is such a great handling vehicle that it's really hard to beat opposed to those other kit cars that you could build. Now don't get me wrong, I do plan to build more kit cars in the future, and maybe my opinion will change then once I get to them. But for now, if you're trying to build your very first kit car, I'd highly recommend the DF Goblin. And if you guys want to hear more about it, be sure to subscribe down below and leave a comment on what you want me to talk about next, so that way I can help you guys through your automotive journey. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Today we're going to answer that very question. What was the question I asked?